What about memories of your series with Greg Valentine?
Uh, Bill, what's that? The announcer for Vince McMahon, Howard
Howard
Finkel.
Finkel?
Howard Finkel told Greg that we had the longest feud in the WWF.
Huh.
I mean, we must have wrestled each other for a year and a half
Right.
because he chased me. He chased me when I was a champion, and then after he took the belt, I chased him for about a year. And we had just about every type of match that you could have possibly had. And I mean, at the time, I believe that me and Valentine were selling out big arenas without Hulk Hogan. Up until then, only where Hulk was going would be sellouts. And then all of a sudden, me and the guys were making money if they were on our card.
Right.
So it was good, to know that something else had gotten hot, and there was a lot of other hot wrestlers, but they just never gave them the opportunity to do business on themselves. If somebody else was hot, they usually would stay with Hulk anyway to assure that kept doing good. But they kind of separated us for a while, and they found out that we could draw it. I mean,
They were great matches.
the people believed our matches. I mean, we used to go in there, and I used to say to people that I was in easier street fights. I mean, you wrestled Valentine, and he was like a pit bull. You knock him down, he kept coming at you. And another example of if you didn't fight back, he'd eat you up.
Right.
So, but we had great chemistry with each other. I mean, we went out there to entertain the people and to convince them that what we were doing was real, and it was pretty close to real.
Were you there the night that Dr. D. David Schultz slapped John Stossel?
Yes, but I was in the dressing room and I didn't hear. I was getting ready for a match, and I didn't hear anything until it was all over.
What are your thoughts on that? We did a shoot with Dr. D, and he said Vince pretty much put him up to that.
He did.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on. I knew that it didn't take much to get to set him off.
All right.
He was ready for a fight.
What was he like outside the ring, Dr. D? High strung or?
He kind of kept to himself. I think I was never around him that much.
Were you disappointed, I guess, when they did the very first WrestleMania that you didn't really have a high profile match?
Yes, I was, but I could understand the reason they didn't put me with Valentine was because it would have taken away a lot of our matches at the house shows.
Right.
We were just getting started with our angle, and they didn't want to waste a whole round of matches everywhere.
Right.
So they saved that. They just did a little something with me and Greg. I got involved in him and JYD's, which added a little bit more steam to our match.
Right.
I was disappointed, and then it was an honor to me. Vince McMahon told me to go out there, and he said we need somebody to go out and get the people off their ass, and so I just took that. I took that. That was my job for WrestleMania I, to go out there and get the people off to a good show. And even though I was disappointed about this, it's a job they gave me, and I went out and did the best job that I could to get the people off their butts.
Were you ever turned off with the involvement of Mr. T for WrestleMania, or?
I was turned off by any outsider that came in because they all made big bucks, and I don't think they really had anything to do with drawing the houses or anything. Vince just included names to. I think the only one that really made a difference was Tyson.
Right.
Other than that, the house would have been the same with or without anybody who they used out there.
How did things change after the very first WrestleMania?
Well, I think people all over the country started looking at us as superstars.
Right.
They started. It was okay to be a wrestling fan after
Right.
that.
How did Vince change, I guess, after the success of WrestleMania? Did he become more arrogant and cocky, or?
Yeah, I think it's been a steady rise for him. I mean, right now he's completely gone overboard. I think.
Right.
I saw him, but is he gone overboard, or is he just the character? You know that you know he's you know he lives the business, and you know, but I don't think he touches ground too much.
Right. You also worked, I guess, with the Funks again. You did WrestleMania II with the Funks.
Yeah.
What are your memories of that match?
It was a great match. I couldn't believe that that they didn't let us win. I mean,
You were teaming with JYD, I think, right?
me and JYD couldn't beat the Funk Brothers, and they were leaving. You know, they had given their notice already, and you know, I couldn't understand why. You know, I just thought that they were holding us back. You know,
Right.
If they would have given us a win, it could have really helped us both. But
Dory, I think, stayed, right? And they brought Jesse Barron, maybe? Or did Dory leave too?
Yeah, but the team was Terry.
Right, right.
You know, Terry made the team.
Why did he leave, I guess? Was it money?
I don't know if it was money or was he involved in movies at the time. Or,
Could have been that, too.
You know, I really can't remember why.
How hot was the WWF at that time?
Well, I think once we had WrestleMania I was in 1985, wasn't it? Or what?
I think it was 85, yeah.
So I think from 85, pretty much for the next, all the way through probably WrestleMania 8,
Right.
it was really hot. You know, I think WrestleMania 9, it started having a little bit more problem drawings, you know, like the big crowds, you know, all over.
Right.
You know, but WrestleMania, I mean, wrestling for some reason, and the old timers used to tell us, you know, it's always a cycle, you know, and,
Goes up and down.
it still goes through cycles, you know. It's just can't help it, you know. I guess it needs to cool off cycles also.
I guess at what point did you realize that you weren't just a wrestler anymore, you now were a celebrity?
Wherever we went, we got recognized. You know, we got recognized. They treated us different. They would go in restaurants and we didn't have to pay the tab, and we'd go to gymnasiums all over the country, all over the world, and you know they were honored to have us, and they'd give us, you know, their merchandise, and
Right.
you know, people treated us like celebrities.
What are your memories of some of your early matches with the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and what was it like working with Randy?
Randy he came in to New York. I don't know if you remember when he was by himself without
Right.
Elizabeth, and he hadn't really wrestled on top anywhere other than Memphis. He wasn't a very knowledgeable wrestler as far as working, you know, on top in any other territory. And I remember the first match that I wrestled with him in Detroit. He called the whole match, and you know, after the match, we didn't get much of a response, and I was the champion at the time, and I said, Randy, I said, I'll let you call the whole match because it's the way I work. I said, but I did stuff. I threw more drop kicks with you than I have, you know, in one day that I've thrown in 2 years since I've been here. I said, we were just doing things for doing things. I said, you know, I'm going to explain to you the style that New York likes. I said, New York likes a little bit of wrestling and some ass kicking, you know, mixed in.
Right.
You know, they don't want to see just bumps, you know. To me, that was a very jabroni match. You know, stuff that I was doing when I first started, going 20-minute draws. You know, what you don't know what you're doing. And he picked it up pretty quick. I mean, he you know, I don't know that I had anything to do with it, but, you know, he figured out what people in New York liked. And
watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.